Fantasy literature has long been a popular genre for readers who love to explore the realms of the impossible. One of the main appeals of fantasy is escapism. People want to experience a world different from their own. They want to have experiences unlike their own, and more often than not, that unique and different world involves magic in one form or another. I mean, the concept of magic is at the heart of fantasy, and the way that it's portrayed in a story can greatly impact the reader's experience and understanding of the world. And when handled well, it allows readers to suspend their disbelief and be swept away into the story. Now, a magic system is a set of rules and principles that govern the behavior of magical elements and how they're used within a fictional setting. And depending on the type of magic system that a story has, it can have a huge impact on the plot and character development. It can determine the character's abilities, the limits of their powers, and even the outcome of the entire story itself. Now, there are two main types of magic systems in fantasy. There's hard magic systems and soft magic systems. And these terms, originally coined by Brandon Sanderson, are widely used by fantasy fiction writers today. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down each of these in detail. I'll give you examples for both and tell you the benefits and limitations. But first, real quick, this video is sponsored by Babbel. Hola, ¿qué pasa? Guys, I have wanted to learn a new language for a long time, and you may know I'm getting married this year. I also want to be traveling later in the summer, and I feel like now is the perfect time for me to not only challenge myself by learning a new language, but also to help me better appreciate new cultures when I'm traveling. And Babbel is one of the top language learning apps in the entire world. It's also scientifically proven to help you start speaking a new language in only 3 weeks. The lessons are designed by real language teachers, and they teach you real-world conversations. I'm finding it a really easy and enjoyable way to learn. Basically, the lessons are preparing you to have conversations about business, travel, relationships, and just so much more. ¿Dónde está el baño?
Me gusta la comida mexicana.
Me gusta la comida mexicana. And Babbel even offers a 20-day back money guarantee. Now guys, if you want to try out Babbel for yourself and learn a language in 3 weeks, you can get up to 60% off your subscription using my link in the description. Thank you to Babbel for sponsoring this video. Now back to the video. Starting with soft magic systems, this refers to magic that is less defined and based more in the realm of the unknown. It's often used to create a sense of mystery and wonder, and the rules to this type of system are vague and undefined, with the reader not needing to fully understand how it all works. This can make it exciting for the reader as it brings a level of unpredictability, and in these types of stories, the reader is never certain of the dangers and wonders that the characters will encounter, and the characters themselves never truly know what can and can't happen. Soft magic is more flexible, it's less restrictive, and it can be easier to use as just a plot device or simply as something mysterious. You can add some sort of supernatural or otherworldly elements into your story without getting bogged down by the details. Also, soft magic can offer freedom to explore your story in more allegorical or a philosophical direction. Neil Gaiman's Sandman has some of my favorite soft magic. Dream will mention rules or swear by the first circle, but you never really know what all that means. But it manages to feel so expansive and wondrous all at the same time, and the magic isn't really used to solve plot points, so no one really objects to not understanding it. Considering the works of Tolkien, the magic system in The Lord of the Rings has a great deal of lore surrounding it, but the actual rules governing how it all works are deliberately left open. Gandalf is capable of great things, but the reader doesn't understand how he's able to do this. Gandalf's powers are of mythical proportion, and when he's around, you feel safer. This is why, when the Fellowship has to go on without him, it serves the story and the characters really well. Star Wars works in much the same way. You don't really understand how the Force works, only the Masters do. The Force can mind trick plastic-coated soldiers, turn an old man into a ghost. It can lift a starfighter out of a swamp and guide some Eon torpedoes down a very narrow shaft. A Song of Ice and Fire also has a soft magic system, from the elemental magic of the fire mages and the red priests to the shadow binders who form shadow assassins. Magic in this series is rare enough for many people to doubt how effective it is and even doubt its existence. Magic is little understood in this world, and it's been long since magic was truly potent that most understanding of it only lives on in superstition and rituals of questionable validity, and the reader doesn't fully grasp it. Soft magic works really well for these stories because it creates that sense of wonder and mystery. Explaining every detail of how Gandalf is able to perform magic or how the Force works would only take away from that feeling that anything can happen. These type of systems are really great at making magic feel like it's beyond our understanding, and that could do wonders for building a fantasy setting and just making everything feel more magical. Moving on to hard magic systems, these are much more structured and defined. They're often based on scientific principles and follow strict rules, and oftentimes it requires the characters to use their knowledge and skill to achieve their goals. Now, hard magic can be used for creating interesting world building by affecting the culture, government, or society at large within the fictional world. There is a clear cost and limitations for the user of such magic, which the reader eventually understands as they slowly discover how it all works. And these limitations actually provide interesting challenges for the characters. Now, this allows the magic to feel much more realistic, and in some stories, the magic may even be considered a type of science within the world, and on some occasions may not even be called magic, such as bending in Avatar: The Last Airbender, and alchemy in Fullmetal Alchemist. Hard magic needs predictability and consistency. When magic goes wrong, it's from the character's lack of knowledge, or their misuse, or a mistake they make when using the magic. The mechanics of how magic works are clearly laid out and adhered to with little room for ambiguity. When writing hard magic, it takes a lot more planning and thought beforehand because you want to make sure you have all the rules figured out from the beginning. Authors are responsible for sticking to their rules because their readers, I guarantee it, they're going to notice if you break one of the pre-established rules of your magic system. So don't break the rules. Now, there are some authors that will argue that defining magic takes away that sense of wonder and fantasy is all about the wonder. I don't think this is necessarily true. I've read a lot of books with hard magic systems that still have a ton of wonder and mystery to them, and especially when the author is able to surprise the reader by getting characters to use magic in a super creative way that you just weren't expecting, but it's still within the rules and limitations. And if the world just has a ton of different magical elements at play, then of course there's always going to be wonder. One of the most iconic examples of a hard magic system is the Mistborn books by Brandon Sanderson. And really, Sanderson is a master at creating hard magic systems, so you can use any of his Cosmere books as an example. But the magic in Mistborn is based on the consumption of metals, each with its own unique power. Allomancers have the ability to use or burn metals to fuel a variety of physical and mental enhancements or abilities, and the characters use their knowledge of these metals to plan and execute complex strategies. This system requires a great deal of skill and tactical thinking, and it's one of the reasons why Mistborn feels somewhat cinematic, because the magic is used in some really interesting ways, and it offers a great deal of experimentation when it comes to traversal and combat. Allomancers can burn their metal quicker or flare it by consuming it faster. This also gains them far better benefits in return. However, if they run out of metals at the wrong time, then things can be dire. Another drawback is that the individuals who flare their metals for extended periods of time may be physiologically altered by the constant influx of allomantic power. These allomancers are known as allomantic savants and can experience heightened senses and a dependence upon whatever metal they've been abusing. Now, another example of a hard magic system is the one used in the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan, though at times the magic here sort of mixes in some soft elements as well, so I would say this is kind of a hybrid system. Now in the first book, The Eye of the World, it does have some magic, but it's mysterious and not really explained. Books 2 to 4 explain it a lot more, and then it starts ramping up the magic. The rest of the series has some of the best uses of magic I have ever read. I truly think this is the series that got Brandon Sanderson thinking about rules and hard magic. It's more defined than other forms of magic that you see in a lot of fantasy during this time. Channeling the One Power is just such an interesting magic system, but there's also some mysterious elements as well to the magic here. And there is lots of moments where characters just do stuff without any internally consistent explanation for how they're able to do it. And Wheel of Time does even have an in-universe explanation for plot armor and certain characters being able to do incredibly improbable things. But the magic system here is very detailed and satisfying, and it's one of my favorites. Now, I've seen people argue that Avatar: The Last Airbender doesn't have a hard magic system, and I would highly disagree. The bending system here has clear rules and limitations, with each element having a specific set of abilities and weaknesses. I would say it's a clear example of a hard magic system. It might not be as in-depth as some other fantasy works out there, but it's incredibly interesting, and visually it's a lot of fun. Both systems have their own strengths and weaknesses. Neither is better than the other, and which one is more suitable for a story, really that all comes down to the author's style and maybe which themes they want to explore. I love a fantasy book with a ton of mystery to it. Also, soft magic systems give writers more creative freedom because they can pretty much do whatever they want. That feeling that magic is beyond our understanding, that it's something that's truly incomprehensible, that's a strength of soft magic that I really appreciate. I love having that sort of mystery to a story. But on the other hand, this type of system can make it difficult for readers to connect with certain characters because they don't understand their capabilities. This is why in a lot of these stories, the characters are not magic users, magic is just happening around them. Where with hard magic, readers get a better understanding of the rules that govern the world, and also of the characters' abilities and limitations. Now typically, if powers are relatively limitless, I think it's a good idea to restrict how many people have limitless power, so characters can be taken out of the scene or killed off to really add tension to a moment. And overall, soft magic is a great complement to characters who don't know about that magic, and you can express that wonder and awe that you want your readers to feel. This type of magic gives authors a wide range of flexibility to explore new facets as the story progresses. However, it can lead to deus ex machina, or feeling like conflict resolution is contrived. It may also require new explanations as new magic is introduced, and trying to keep some sort of limit on it so that internal consistency is there can be challenging. With hard magic, readers have a deep understanding of how it works, but they are less likely to be awed by the wonder of your magic. However, having those strict rules and limits makes magical conflict resolution much more satisfying. But your story has to be bound by the system rules, and it has to remain logical. Not to mention, adding in new abilities later on can sometimes frustrate readers, and it can risk messing the entire system up. Really, one isn't better than the other. For myself, I kind of prefer harder magic systems, but I do think that soft magic has its place, and I do really enjoy having that mystery and wonder in my books as well. So I like to read both. Now I quickly want to mention the hybrid system, because these two ends of the magic system spectrum can interact in multiple ways, especially when it comes to using multiple magic systems in a story. Sometimes there's authors that use both of these, and this is something I love reading about. For instance, in the King Killer Chronicle by Patrick Rothfuss, there's two different types of magic. One of them being sympathy, which is very scientific in nature. It has all of its rules set out, and basically it's a way of energy manipulation by splitting your mind. I won't get into it all, but then there's also naming, which is finding the true name of something to have mastery over it. And this is very much a soft magic system, so the Chronicle has both. Let me know in the comments if you have any recommendations for series that have both a soft and hard magic system, because that's something that I actually really love to see in fantasy books. Those are my thoughts on hard magic systems versus soft magic systems. Let me know which kind you prefer in the comments. Also, if you want more recommendations, go watch my video on best magic systems. I do cover a lot of the ones I mentioned here, but I did mention some others as well. And let me know in the comments what are your favorite magic systems. I would love to hear from you guys. Also, I just want to give a big shout out to all of my patrons. I love you guys. Your support helps out the channel and makes me be able to put out videos more often, and I appreciate that so much.